Graphics shape the true definition and identity of a video game. But why would a game with the most notable graphics and style completely modify itself into something unrecognizable? This is the perfection of Fortnite's old graphics. A few months ago, we went over mainly Fortnite's art style and some of the leading factors to why many people want it back. You don't have to watch that video first, but this is mainly an addition to a lot of things that I missed. I didn't take into account the variety of the graphics, and something so simple, like was it the oversaturation within the graphics? Was it mainly the way that the gameplay mechanics looked? Was it the cartoonish style? Or could it all have just been nostalgia? How could we talk about Fortnite's old graphics without going to the roots of the launch of Fortnite Battle Royale? Fortnite Battle Royale released on September 26th of 2017. During this time, Fortnite didn't even have a season yet. And it's funny because looking back on Fortnite's old graphics, they maintained Season 0's graphics for a very long time. I didn't even notice this until I started recording this video, but it's funny because Fortnite never really tried updating their graphics much in Chapter 1. They mainly updated weapons and the HUD to better pair with the style of Fortnite's graphics. I think the main reason is because Fortnite maybe didn't see a long-term potential in Battle Royale and mainly kept a similar style to Save the World. The other thing with Save the World as well, which I find pretty funny and that someone mentioned in one of my previous videos, is that it still holds a similar graphic style that it had almost 8 years ago, which goes to show that sometime in Fortnite's path, they slowly diverted from the Save the World graphics and created Fortnite Battle Royale's own art style. We'll get back into this later, but I want to go mainly over the visual mechanics such as movement, the models of the characters, and the overall atmosphere of the gameplay. But before that, I would like to talk about one of the biggest issues within Fortnite at the moment, which is the servers and the ping. That's why with ExitLag, you can use AI route optimization to lower your ping in not just Fortnite, but in many other games as well. I personally have used ExitLag for the past year, and I can confidently say that their software is a necessity not only for competitive gamers, but also casual gamers. Just like antivirus protects your PC, ExitLag protects your gameplay. Just look at how much better my ping is before and after ExitLag. The best part is that they're running a 3-day free trial and up to 72% off on select plans. Just go to the link in my description or scan this QR code, create an account, use code TRICKY when checking out, download ExitLag, and boom, it's that easy to get lower ping. They also offer duo plans and squad plans, which gives you an affordable option for you and your friends. ExitLag's Gamer Month promotion is ending soon, so make sure to grab the offer while it lasts. Alright, let's get back to discussing the visual mechanics. It's wild to me that no one has really considered this a graphic at all, but I do think that movement is one of the biggest graphical changes. I made countless videos on movement, and I'm only going to talk about this for a very short term, but I do think with the slow-paced visual style and also the slow-paced style of gameplay paired with the graphics did change so much about Fortnite Battle Royale. See, before with the graphical style, everything felt slow, and it also felt much more simplistic, and now it is just completely chaotic. In my opinion, it's not chaotic in a bad way, but for some people, it is. See, there's so much more that you need to know about Fortnite now than even 4 years ago. You need to learn how to sprint, slide, mantle, how to build really well, and while building was a big part of the game back in the day, there were still sweats, but it wasn't as advanced as it is now. I think that's why a lot of people want the old movement style and just the animations, mainly because they want a feel of slower paced gameplay. But while this is somewhat a big graphical change, I don't think it's all that necessary in the overall perfection of Fortnite's old graphics. The biggest thing when looking back on the old graphics is this seamless and polished transition of morning, daytime, evening, and nighttime. I noticed the main reason that I get nostalgia and want the old graphics back so bad is that they paired so well with the map and meshed almost perfectly. If we take a look at the reflections on the water of Loot Lake paired with the trees and the buildings around it, the slow change from the purple night to the orange and yellow toned sunrise, and the pairing of the storm that somehow doesn't clash but meshes with every time of day. Makes it almost indescribable to any other period in Fortnite's graphical style. We did see this similar style in Chapter 2, but I feel that most of it started to fade away throughout the seasons. And something that faded away very slowly but also rapidly was the cartoonish style of the game. And it's funny because I feel like this is one of the most notable things about Fortnite, especially during Chapter 1, is that it had a cartoonish style that could never be replicated. And as the chapters and as the seasons went on, Fortnite slowly started to fade out of the cartoonish style, which is definitely one of the biggest factors about Fortnite losing their graphics. But I want you to think about it this way. Epic Games did so well and is still doing very, very well. Maybe not to the extent of what they were doing 2 or 3 years ago, but they are making so much money off of collaborations. It is an understandable business decision why they started to divert away from the cartoonish style, because they wanted more realistic characters and more of a metaverse style within Fortnite. We started to see this a little bit in Chapter 2 whenever they brought Nexus War, but also more up until Chapter 5 whenever we saw the collaborations with Disney, especially after the Big Bang event after Fortnite OG in 2023. And as many of you notice, I think I understand why they diverted from it. There's a whole new audience for Fortnite right now, not just with Battle Royale, but with the creative mode. I talked about this in my art style video, but creative mode had a huge impact on the change of Fortnite's graphical style. And as we saw recently with Steal the Brain Rot, which that's a whole nother thing to go into, but it completely topped Battle Royale's player count for a few hours, holding over 400,000 players concurrently, which is just unheard of. But with Fortnite being almost 8 years old, they have to learn to adapt. Keep in mind, their audience, especially their majority audience, is much different than it was 8 years ago. This isn't just with the player base itself, but also with the content creators. We do still have the big content creators that we all watched back in the day, but not many at all. And as you can tell, most of them focus more on the younger side of the content, especially if you watch their videos. Now, a question that I haven't seen many people ask, especially when talking about old Fortnite itself, is it even necessary to bring back the old graphics? And is Epic Games planning to tend to their older audience? Now, I've actually had this question stuck in the back of my mind for a while. The one reason why is because they brought OG Fortnite back, and I do understand why they brought it back. It was 100% for their older audience, maybe the range of 18 to 35, maybe some younger, some older, but they wanted them to come back and relive their childhood. However, as we all know, they did not do it in the best way possible. Recently, we were seeing updates within Fortnite OG, and I think that Epic Games was trying super hard to get most of their main stuff with Disney first and then leave most of the older audience on the side and focusing less on Fortnite OG. But it's really funny to me because I feel like the only reason Fortnite had such a good player count in 2024 is because so many people stayed after Fortnite OG in 2023. See, we're in one of the worst spots we've ever been in Fortnite, ever. The game averages 1.2 million players concurrently a day, but Fortnite was pulling way higher numbers before that. Now, I won't get into my full opinion in this video, but I do think with Fortnite switching to creative, most of their older audience that helped build the player count to such a high point decided to just slowly drift away, which is very unfortunate since Fortnite OG, in my opinion, was one of the most saving graces for Fortnite in 2023. But this leads to the biggest question. Could it have all just been nostalgia? I've been asked this question so many times, and I've been told many times that I'm just nostalgia blocked. But here is my brutal and honest opinion. I do think I am a little bit nostalgia blocked and a little bit biased to a lot of the stuff in Fortnite OG, but I do think with all the graphical changes, they did move way too fast and they diverted from their original style. I don't think it's being nostalgia blocked at all because everyone has their own personal preference on what games they do like and what games they don't like. A lot of people might like the newer versions of Call of Duty, and a lot of people might like the older versions of Call of Duty based on the graphics, the maps, the movement, the gameplay style, and also the community. That's the biggest reason why I believe Fortnite blew up at such a rapid pace, is because the community is what tied it all together. The streaming industry was insane during during the time of chapter 1, especially around season 4 and season 5, and then competitive started to rise around season 5, season 6. So again, it's just personal preference and your style of community. Could it have all just been nostalgia, or were the old graphics really that perfect?